everybody. Welcome to the Daily Dose. So God says to us, love your neighbor as yourself. Okay, that sounds really great, but how do I love my neighbors when they drive me crazy, when they're unkind to me, or they believe something differently than I do? This week on the Daily Dose, we're leaning into loving our neighbors by talking about specific strategies that will help us be incredible neighbors to those around us. And today I want to suggest, if God is love, be curious. And I want to start with this reading from the book of Proverbs. Now, the book of Proverbs is what we call wisdom literature in the Bible. And this particular book is unique because it provides some really practical instructions, some insights, you might say, about wise ways of living. And it's a series of sayings that have been quoted, sometimes quoted in different ways that you've probably seen in lots of different ways. They're short little statements. It's been changed over centuries. And if we're drawn to this book, I think, because the author presents things in a pretty simple way. So we read today from the book of Proverbs, chapter 18, verses 13 through 16. To answer before listening, that is folly and shame. The human spirit can endure in sickness, but a crushed spirit who can bear? The heart of discerning acquires knowledge. The ears of the wise seek it out. A gift opens the way and ushers the giver into the presence of the great. When I was in college, I had an opportunity to travel on a Habitat for Humanity trip. We bundled into a bus in Moorhead, Minnesota, and drove through the night to St. Petersburg, Florida, for about a week of a Habitat build. And once we got there, after we realized it was really nice to be out of Minnesota during the month of February, we got to work. And none of us knew what we were doing, so we met the people who really knew what they were doing, the construction folks with this Habitat build, who taught us how to, taught all these college students some really simple skills, like hammer a nail here. If you're gonna get on a roof, here's the safe way to do it. Hold this sheetrock while we pound. We really had no idea what we were doing, but I think it's safe to say that after a few days, we felt pretty good about ourselves. We thought we were pretty great. And maybe this has happened to you as well. When you've participated in some sort of service activity, some type of event, you feel good about yourself. I think that's a natural feeling that we have. Now, on an afternoon of our first day of this Habitat build, a man walked by our site and just asked what we were doing. So we told him, probably puffing out our chests a little bit more, thinking we were great. And even though it wasn't his house, maybe it wasn't even his neighborhood, he was really curious about what we were doing. He was really thankful for what we were doing. And he said, kind of unprompted, he said, I want to invite you to the restaurant I work at for dinner later this week. I want to offer you a meal as a way of saying thanks for what you're doing. Now, this was the day before cell phones, so our leaders took a chance and wrote down the name of this restaurant, and we said we would meet him there on Thursday. So fast forward a few days, and we're still, as a group, feeling great about ourselves. We're having fun, getting to know one another, and quickly becoming advocates for Habitat, this organization that we were coming to love. And Habitat is a really great organization. I'm sure many of you have helped or donated to it. There's a great chapter here in town. And I know each build site is different, but for us, we didn't know anything about the homeowners. We didn't really know anything about the community. And I'm not sure if that was on purpose, but we didn't learn anything about the big context of this build. We also didn't ask anything about the context. So on Thursday night, we looked up the address to this restaurant in a phone book back in the day. And our bus driver took us to this spot. Sure enough, this man was waiting here for us with a table set. There was music playing. There was a banquet of Jamaican food at this restaurant for all of us, just as a simple way of showing his gratitude. He pulled out his steel drums. He taught us how to sing and dance in his traditional Jamaican style. And we had an evening where we were treated like royalty. We hear again in the book of Proverbs, the heart of the discerning acquires knowledge, for the ears of the wise seek it out. A gift opens the way and ushers the giver into the presence of the great. As I look back on my 19-year-old self, who thought I was pretty great, loving my neighbor, going on this trip, for sure, it was a good, important way to serve. But I think back on it, and this man, this stranger, who was curious about this program that we were a part of, who spent some time asking and getting to know us, He was the one who loved his neighbor in a really radical way. If God is love, be curious. Who could you seek out? Whose story could you listen to? Where could you burst out of your comfortable bubble and share God's love in an unexpected, radical way? Thanks so much for watching the Daily Dose today. We'd love for you to subscribe to our channel on YouTube, and you'll get updates of more daily doses and worship series coming your way. Have a good day.